Yo, what's good, gang? We're back for another Labyrinth / UFC breakdown full card prediction joint with me, the one and only big homie, Big Year, right here. And once again, we got the best pay-per-view of the year on deck. You already know what it is. We jumping straight into it. All right, first fight of the night. We got a pretty low-level women's match right here between Joanne Wood versus Marina Moroz. This fight right here basically comes down to, can Marina Moroz stay out of that clinch? Because JoJo does have a dangerous clinch attack. Other than that, she's not really the best wrestler or the best striker. I think Marina Moroz has got her beat standing and on the ground pretty much everywhere else besides that clinch. I'll take Marina Moroz. Next fight, CJ Vergara versus Asu Almabayev. And from looking at the line, you would think that Almabayev would just take down CJ Vergara pretty easily, just submit him right away. But I'm going to say that CJ Vergara is actually a pretty tough guy, very scrappy dude, pretty hard to finish. And so I'm going to say if he can just avoid that submission on the ground and keep this fight on the feet, I'm going to give him a good chance to win this fight. I'll take the shot on CJ Vergara. Next fight up, Robelis Despang versus Josh Parisian. Pretty easy fight to break down right here. Robelis Despang, he likes to come forward and just land a huge right hand, and if he can do that, he can pretty much put anybody away. The guy's a monster, and Josh Parisian is just a dude who's not very good, and he gets hit way too much, so no way I can pick Josh Parisian here. I have to go with the big favorite, Despang. Pretty good scrap right here. Michel Pereira versus Mikhail Oleksiejczuk. And I'd have to say that Mikhail Oleksiejczuk is probably one of the liver underdogs on the card. If he can get inside the reach of Pereira, get his hands on him, get his clinch going, work him over from there, really make this fight ugly, tire him out, he could probably have a pretty good chance of winning the decision. However, with the improvements that Pereira's made, I really like what I'm seeing out of him lately. I like him to go ahead and keep this fight at his range and get the job done. Give me Michel Pereira. Next up, Felipe Lins versus Ion Cutelaba. And this right here, guys, this is one of those fights where, you know, neither one of these guys are really all that good. I will say, though, that they can both bring a pretty high action pace in that first round, trying to get the guy out of there. So it could be interesting to see how the early part of this first round goes. I was leaning towards Ion Cutelaba. As a matter of fact, I picked Ion Cutelaba on the Rabid Dog show. But the more I think about it, you know, Felipe Lins, if he can get that wrestling going, survive an early onslaught from Cutelaba, it's really probably going to be in his world. Cutelaba will be worn down, and I think Felipe Lins does have slightly better defensive responsibility anyway. So I have to go ahead and change my pick. I'm going to take Felipe Lins by a stoppage. Next fight up, we got Pedro Munoz versus Kyler Phillips. And, you know, I think this fight right here comes down to, can Kyler Phillips avoid the low leg kick of Munoz? Because he does have a devastating low leg kick. But if he can avoid that and keep his high volume pace going, this should be his fight to lose. I think he can probably get his grappling going if he needs to. Probably work a little top game on Munoz. But definitely his pace, his volume, it's just way better. Munoz is a guy that's pretty low volume, and I think that could be a big factor here because Kyler Phillips likes to keep a high pace. So I'm gonna have to take Kyler Phillips in this one. Next up, we got Mateus Gamrot versus Rafael dos Anjos. Now, this right here is a fight that, you know, I think it's got the potential to be actually pretty boring. I think we've seen this style of fight before. We've seen it a million times play out with the grappler trying to take down RDA, and usually if they're any good with that, they can usually get one over on them. I think that's what we're going to have here. Mateus Gamrot, he's going to look to implement that type of game. And it's just, yeah, not the most exciting fight in the world, but he should be able to get it done if he's able to use that wrestling on RDA like we've seen before. If it was a 5-round fight, you know, things could get interesting. I think RDA could definitely win the championship rounds, but given that this is a 3-round fight, I got to go with Mateus Gamrot right here. Next fight up, we got Katlyn Chookagian. I believe she goes by the name Caitlin Sarmanara now, if I'm not mistaken. She will be taking on Macy Barber. Pretty easy fight to break down right here, guys. You'll have Katlyn Chookagian trying to play that outside game, shooting little kind of pitter-patter, annoying little shots with not much power on them. A lot of key-opping for the judges, man. Sometimes the judges like it, but I don't know. I'm just not really big on it. She's not really impressing me with all that. Now, Macy Barber, on the other hand, she has been impressing me lately with, you know, it seems like she's been able to figure out a way to get to the inside and get her hands going. And she can find her way back in the inside in this fight again and let her hands go, I think she's going to be doing a lot more damage than Katlyn, and I think that's going to be a big factor in this fight. I got to take Macy Barber right here. And very intriguing heavyweight matchup right here, guys. Got Jailton Almeida versus Curtis Blades. This fight right here, this is going to be the first time that Jailton Almeida is really stepping up in competition, and he's taking a massive step up in competition because it's the first time he's taking on a real strong wrestler, and also a guy who's a lot bigger than him too. And you know, I think that could play a factor in this fight. If Almeida doesn't get an early finish, if he doesn't knock out Blades, doesn't find that shot, doesn't figure out a way to submit him in the first 5 minutes, I think Curtis Blades is going to be like an avalanche rolling downhill all over this guy, man. I think it's going to be Curtis Blades' world if he can just avoid getting finished in that first round. It's going to be all Blades, and that's what I see right here. I see this fight going a little bit later, and I got Curtis Blades. Good matchup right here. You got Peter Yan versus Song Yadong. Now, this fight, I believe has potential to be your fight of the night. I think this is a very close matchup. I think both these guys are similar in the fact that they both like to come forward and pressure the other guy. Now, Yan is going to have the slightly better boxing of the two, whereas Song Yadong is going to have the better kicking game and the better grappling attack as well, I would say. This fight for me comes down to, can Song Yadong keep the pressure on Peter Yan? Because if he can keep Peter Yan backing up, then that's going to take him out of his element, and then that's going to be right in Song Yadong's wheelhouse, man. If he can do that, I think he can have a lot of success. I am going to go ahead and take the dog shot on Song Yadong. all-action fight up next. Gilbert Burns versus Jack Della Maddalena. Yeah, this one right here, guys, potential to be a real banger, man. Gilbert Burns is one of the hardest hitting guys in the welterweight division, and so is his opponent, Jack Della Maddalena. Now, Jack likes to get it done more with his hands, with his boxing. That's how he usually puts people away. Whereas Burns, he's got big power in his hands too, but he really likes to get his grappling attack going and look to finish fights that way. For me, I just think this fight comes down to, can Gilbert Burns get his grappling attack going? I think he can have some success with it, but at some point in this fight, I see Jack Della Maddalena just catching Gilbert on the way in maybe, and probably putting him away. So I got to go with Jack Della Maddalena right here. Got more fireworks in the welterweight division with this one, guys. Michael Venom Page versus Kevin Holland. Now, how I see this fight playing out, I see it mostly taking place on the feet. I think both these guys like to get their striking going. MVP, he's one of the flashiest strikers in mixed martial arts today. And Kevin Holland, he's a flashy striker in his own right, but I would say he's probably a little bit better with his fundamental boxing. Now, definitely Kevin Holland, I would say, is the more well-rounded of the two. If he were to take this fight down to the ground, he could have a much easier time. Problem is, I don't really trust Kevin Holland to stick to any kind of game plan in fights. He stood 5 rounds with Wonder Boy, and that's all I really need to know. I got to take MVP here. Co-main event, you got Dustin the Diamond Poirier versus Benoit Saint-Denis. Now this fight right here, you kind of got the old guard taking on the hungry young lion, and I think the way this fight plays out, you know, whoever wins this fight is probably going to end up looking like a -1,000. I know this is a closely lined fight, can go either way, but eventually whoever gets their game going is probably going to find the finish. Now, if it's Dustin Poirier, I think he does it with the hands, because Benoit Saint-Denis, definitely not the most defensively responsible guy. But if this fight turns into a war, I just think that Benoit Saint-Denis can lean on his wrestling attack, and he can take Poirier down and have a lot of success that way. So I'm going to have to go with Benoit Saint-Denis right here. Bad Blood rematch in the main event. It's Sugar Sean O'Malley versus Marlon Chito Vera. And in their first fight, guys, you know, Chito was able to find that low leg kick on Sean O'Malley that, you know, just hit the right spot and shut O'Malley's leg down, man. That was the beginning and the end from there. And, you know, Chito, he's just got that way of doing that to people, man. He breaks people down over time. You know, he can be a slow starter, but once he gets the ball rolling, man, it's like he just lives in those 4th and 5th rounds, man. The guy is made for championship rounds. This guy's he's built different, man. I did like what O'Malley showed against Peter Yan. I think he got through a dark place in that fight, man. I really liked what I saw there, but at the same time, this is a 5-round fight, and I just think Chito Vera, I just think it's his time, man. I think he breaks Sean down over time again and gets it done late. Give me Chito. And if you made it this far, guys, massive shout out to you. As always, be sure to subscribe to Rabbit Sports ENT on YouTube for the craziest live streams, the most entertaining sports content, and the very best MMA prediction competitions. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.